Today we're going to learn how to create an invoice using paper and pen. To get started, get a piece of paper and a pen or a Sharpie. You could also get yourself a ruler and a calculator. In the top left, add the word invoice, and in the top right, add your company info under the header from. So include your company name, address, and phone number. Now on the left side, under the invoice heading, add the heading Build To, and this is where you're going to put your client's information. Add your client name, address, and phone number. Next, you're going to add the date issued. This is when you've issued the invoice, as well as the date due, so when the invoice is due. Underneath that, you can add an invoice number. Invoice numbers are good just to help you keep track of which invoice is which. You can use a fatter Sharpie to put a nice line underneath all that information just to separate it. And we've also made the invoice heading bold as well and put a line underneath it. Okay, underneath that line is where you're going to put your line items. So you have your item, you have a header with your item, your rate, your quantity, and your line total. And underneath that, you put down the item name. You can put down a description, which is optional, but it does help if you have a bit of information you want to include. The rate or the price of the item, the quantity, and then you add those up or multiply them to get your line total. You can add another line item below that, separated by a line. Again, with a description, rate, quantity, and the line total. Now if you're all done with your line items, you can put another line. We're just doing about a halfway line, and that will be where we put our subtotal. So you write subtotal, and then on the far right you add the two line items together to get your subtotal. Now if you are giving a discount to your customer, you can add that below the discount rate, and then you just add that below your subtotal with a negative beside it. Tax, if there's any taxes. And now you can put a line underneath that if you're all done. And this is where you're going to put your total. So you add everything up or subtract where needed, and you'll get your total. And we're also going to put an amount due up at the top of the invoice just so it's nice and clear for your client. And we're going to put a box around it. And two more things left to put on here are notes. And this is where you can just thank your client for their business. You could also enter maybe just more information about perhaps payments, that sort of thing. And then below that, you can put your terms. So this would be, how soon you want the invoice paid, as well as what happens if the payment is late. And there you have it, how to make an invoice with paper and pen. It's a bit tedious, takes a bit of time, but it gets the job done.